Hey, 4C divers! It is Wednesday, September 30th, 2020, and we are very excited to be tuning in tonight because we have another presentation about the animals that we think are super cool, sharks! Woohoo! So if you are tuning in, please let us know that you're here. Give us a hello by commenting in the comment section. Tell us where you're listening in from. We'd like to know if you're here in South Florida or in the state of Florida or in other states or even in other countries. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're enjoying this Facebook Live, go ahead and make sure that you give us a thumbs up, a heart emoji, or the smiley face to let us know that you're having a good time watching this presentation. If you don't know who I am, my name is Nicole. I am your social media director for 4C. And I'm really glad that you guys all tune in for these Facebook Lives because it's keeping us going during the times that we cannot do these in person. So we're having a lot of fun with you guys, even though we don't get to physically see you, but being able to interact with you guys and getting you guys the information you need to learn about the oceans and what's in the oceans and learning things about scuba diving. So September is our shark month. That's right, guys. We don't do just 1 week, we do a whole month. So make sure you go to 4C, the website, www.force-e.com, and then go to our events page, and you'll see that we have tonight's event. So you want to make sure that you register for tonight. And the reason why is that at the end of this presentation, I am going to be doing a raffle, and one lucky person who registers is going to either win 4 air fills or 2 nitrox fills at one of our 4C stores. Woohoo! Let's go diving, see some sharks. That registration is open until 7, so you guys have until 7 to register, and you're going to be able to get your name in on that raffle. So make sure you go to www.force-e.com and register for the event. So when you're also on that event page, you're going to see a picture or a tab for our Support Sharks page. And on that page, you can shop for different types of shark, cool t-shirts, hats, neck buffs, all types of really cool things. And if you spend over $50, we'll give you a free shark keychain to go along with that purchase. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys shop online. I'll send you guys that link too. It'll be in the comment section. Talking about the comment section, during the presentation, our guest presenter would love to answer questions, so go ahead and write any questions you have in there. If they're not answered right away, don't worry, we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So again, guys, if you're just tuning in, make sure that you say hello to us on the comment section and tell us where you're listening in from. Give us a thumbs up, heart emoji, or a smiley face. Awesome, guys. All right, so you guys didn't tune in to hear about what I have to say. You tuned in because you wanted to hear about shark superpowers. Guys, this is a topic I've never had at 4C before. I'm super excited because I've known our guest presenter for, we were talking about it, almost 8 years now, and I've never been able to get her to come over from Bimini to Florida to give a presentation, but guess what? Here we are, it's COVID, and we're doing it Facebook Live. So I now have Miss Jillian Morris on the camera here, and she's going to give a presentation about shark superpowers. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole, and 4C for having me. Yeah, it's been a long time. Everyone kind of being at home. So thank you so much to everybody who's already tuning in, and thanks for spending a little time here. My name is Jillian Morris. I'm a marine biologist, an avid shark diver, videographer, and I also am the founder of a nonprofit called Sharks for Kids. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about shark superpowers, and really what that is adaptation. These animals are really remarkable, and hopefully as divers you've been able to see them in the water. If you have not, I highly recommend it. Once we're able to be diving or traveling to some different areas, I definitely recommend it because seeing a shark in the water it's incredible. There's nothing like it. No matter what species you see, it's really, really special. So yeah, so hopefully Today I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about these animals. I'll talk a little bit about what a shark is, kind of talk about then some of the physical adaptations, their sensory systems, which are really kind of their ultimate superpowers. And then I'm going to finish off with a little information about Sharks for Kids, the education nonprofit that I run, and some of the work that we do in South Florida, the Bahamas, and around the world. Right. So, as I mentioned, I am a marine biologist. I actually grew up in Maine, but decided I didn't really want to be in the snow and cold. So as soon as I could, I hit Florida and then have worked since then in Indonesia, Australia, throughout the Bahamas, first as a marine biologist, and then started doing photo and video work, media work, so for different networks like Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, National Geographic. I've also been on shows. I was on a Shark Week show a few years back talking about tagging and tracking tiger sharks in the Caribbean. And so for the last 18 years, really, my life has revolved around sharks in some capacity, whether doing research or photographing and filming them, and now teaching students about them, which is kind of my full-time work, and taking students out to see these incredible animals. I do live in Bimini, so some of you may have been over there. If you live in South Florida, it's kind of in your backyard. It's an incredible and very sharky place. The Bahamas is arguably the shark diving capital of the world, so we're very lucky to have some big, beautiful animals that we're in the water with, and it's really why I ended up in the Bahamas. I've lived in Bimini for just over 8 years now. I was traveling to the island for about 10, but have lived there for 8. And it's because we have sharks in our backyard. You can see some of these images. The great hammerheads, which you might have heard of, have become pretty world famous. So we're able to dive with them, free diving and scuba diving. We have that top left image, that's Joker. She's actually a tiger shark that's shown up the last couple of years on the Hammerhead site and gets right in the mix. She's a lot of fun to dive with. And most of my work actually tagging as well has been working with tiger sharks, big, beautiful animals, and studying their movement, behavior, and that's kind of taken me to various places around the world. And yeah, just really, really lucky to spend a lot of time. I'm also a PADI and BASA diver, so proud to be a scuba diver and share that with people, share that with students, and hopefully inspire the next generation of divers. In particular, I do a lot of work with young women, young girls, just to get them interested and excited and help understand that science, underwater photo and video, and diving, this is something they can all do. So something very close to my heart. All right, so just a quick intro now. For those of you who actually do dive with sharks regularly, then you probably know this, but I do get this asked a lot, not only by students, but also adults. And sharks are actually fish. That might come to a surprise, but they are just slightly different than the other fish you know about. So just a quick thing, they have no bones. Kind of a fun question to ask your kids or your friends, family. That's something that's very surprising for a lot of people that might not be familiar with sharks. No bones, skeleton made of cartilage. And this is kind of one of their superpowers as well. That cartilage is lighter, so it helps them with their buoyancy. So you guys that work on your buoyancy, you know what I'm talking about. It also makes them really flexible. Some sharks can actually bite their own tails. Things like lemon sharks and nurse sharks are very, very flexible, the yogis of the shark world. Fish have that one opening for breathing. Sharks have 5 to 7 gill slits. Those are the openings on the side. The water goes in their mouth and then comes out those openings. Dermal denticles, these special scales that cover the entire body. I'm going to talk a bit more about those later on because that is actually one of their superpowers or special adaptations. And an oily liver. Fish have a swim bladder. This is an internal balloon that helps them with their buoyancy. Sharks don't have that, but they have a very large liver, up to 25% of their body weight. So that's pretty incredible. And it's very oily. If you've heard people talk about squalene, it's the oil from the liver. It's actually used in makeup, lipstick, lotion. You can buy shark liver oil pills as well. So this is something we talk about conservation to be aware of because this ends up in a lot of products and you might not have realized it. So it's a good thing to check for and avoid those products. All right, so Those of you in South Florida who dive here a lot, or maybe travel to South Florida or the Bahamas to dive, these are probably some species that you're quite familiar with. Nurse sharks, hammerheads, bull sharks, Caribbean reef sharks. But believe it or not, there are over 500 different species of shark. We're approaching about 550. The exciting thing is new species are discovered every single year. And not only new species, but also what we know about the existing species, or the species that we already know about, which is really exciting, but also reminds us just how little we know about the ocean. So again, why it's so important to protect that and share our experiences as divers. You get to talk about why you dive, why you love the ocean, share your photos and videos. It's really, really important. And I get asked a lot, what can I do to help sharks? And that's one of the things. If you have photos and videos, if you have an experience, share that with your friends and family, because they probably are afraid of sharks, right? A lot of people around the world, probably much of the world's population, are afraid of these animals, even if they've never seen one. And if you look at this photo, you might recognize a few of these. The white shark at the top, fairly well-known, iconic species. But a few of the others you might not even realize, or the one in the middle, the wobbegong, that's probably throwing some people off. Is that actually a shark? And just looking here at a few species, you see how diverse they are, right? How different from coloration, size, the habitats they're in. And one of the most obvious differences is the size. So anything from the palm of your hand all the way up to a whale shark bigger than a school bus, sort of every size in between. And sharks have been around for about 450 million years. And over that time, they've developed these adaptations that help them survive in different habitats, the way they eat, and it's really incredible. And something that might apply to one shark doesn't necessarily apply to any other sharks, right? So these adaptations are really, really remarkable. And I'm going to talk about a few, some of my favorites, but there's a very long list that I could never cover. We'd need days and days and days. And again, the habitats that they live in, they've adapted to be able to be in those particular habitats, whether it's deep sea, it's coral reefs, mangroves. And again, these kind of superpowers, these adaptations, are really what help them function in those particular habitats. This starts right from birth, all right? And I think this is pretty incredible. So there are kind of three main ways that sharks actually give birth. And you can see that little horn shark down in the bottom right. A lot of them have egg cases. They lay. Mom leaves them. She does not take care of them. X amount of months up to a year later, depending on the species, they hatch out and they're on their own. No matter what type of shark, there is no paternal care. So that in itself, that these little animals have to survive on their own, depending on whatever birth method they have, is pretty incredible. That's a superpower. The top right, you see a baby nurse shark. They're actually have egg cases inside the female. The female sheds the egg case. The little shark hatches out of it, stays inside. She sheds the egg case. A few weeks later, she gives birth, live birth, to the little baby, those shark pups. Top left is a lemon shark. They actually give birth to live young, which I think is pretty incredible. I've been lucky enough to see this. So the little sharks are connected to the mother with an umbilical cord. You can see that top image, it's probably kind of small with the ruler. That's actually the opening, so it's kind of like a little belly button, leaves a scar. And I've been lucky enough to actually film this. Probably the most incredible thing I've ever seen in the water. My husband and I both got to film this for BBC Shark, which if you haven't seen is a pretty phenomenal series. I'm just gonna skip ahead. So this is a large. Now, we can't really talk about sharks without talking about their teeth. So yes, sharks have teeth. This is oftentimes what people find pretty scary about them. And they have thousands of teeth over the course of their lifetime. So this adaptation, one tooth falls out, another one moves forward. You can see these jaws kind of lined up. And it depends, a week, few weeks for the replacement. But throughout their life, as long as they're alive, their body is producing new teeth. Think of this, no hands. This is how they grab their food and eat it. So these teeth are incredibly important. And they're different sized and shape as well. And if we look at the teeth, it can actually tell us a lot about the diet of these animals. So if you look at the top left, that's a nurse shark. They have a pretty awesome diet, conch, lobster. They're tiny teeth. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, nurse sharks don't have teeth. They absolutely do. They're just really small. Very similar to a ray in the fact that they have a crushing plate. So think of your back teeth kind of crushing a hard piece of candy. This is what these sharks are doing. So they're crushing that lobster, and they have incredible suction power. Another kind of superpower of a nurse shark. It's said to be the equivalent of about 10 vacuum cleaners. So if you've ever tried to get a conch out of the shell, if you don't crack that hole in it to break that suction, you're never going to get it out. But nurse sharks can actually pull a conch out of the shell. They'll flip it over, they'll wait till a foot comes out, and they suck it right out. Pretty incredible to see. Down at the bottom left is a tiger shark. They have serrated teeth like a knife. They can eat things like turtles. They're sort of the garbage can of the sea, able to eat a lot of different things. And then they're also actually able to throw up their own stomach or invert it to get rid of anything, feathers from, say, they've eaten a pelican. I've seen them when I was working in Western Australia throw up parts of a fish, a sea snake, anything that might be kind of agitating. They can actually just throw it up, sort of rinses out. It looks like a reddish brown colored plastic bag. They're kind of swayed around, and they can pull it back in. The bottom right is the lemon shark, sharp pointy teeth kind of for eating fish. And the top right is the cookie cutter shark. Small shark, swims up to much larger animals, doesn't eat the whole animal, just takes a chunk out like a cookie cutter. So just in a few species, we can kind of see the adaptations that allow them to survive, just how different their teeth are. All right, so turtles, fish, that cookie cutter mark, maybe you've seen animals with that on it. The animal survives, it's just got a bit of a nasty mark on it. We often hear that sharks have to keep swimming to stay alive, and many species do have to ram ventilate. They have to kind of ram the water in, moving forward with their mouth open. Things like white sharks, makos, great hammerheads have to swim in order to stay alive. And what they've seen with great whites and with great hammerheads is they'll actually go up to the surface and then let themselves sort of coast. Think of a bike pedaling really fast and then coasting along, or going down a hill, and they'll kind of coast down into deeper water. Being able to relax a bit, not having to swim, but still moving forward to let that water move in. Other sharks, like the lemon sharks and the nurse sharks, and if you've ever seen a nurse shark diving, good chance it was probably laying on the bottom. So they can buccal pump, that mouth cavity, that buccal cavity. And this video actually kind of demonstrates, shows it really well. It's sitting there, breathing in. So that water comes in, it's able to force it over the gills and comes out the openings on the side. So if you've never observed this or paid attention, you probably just saw the nurse shark sitting there. Next time you see one sitting on the bottom, actually take a look, because it's pretty incredible to see and actually notice that they're not having to swim to breathe. Now you saw in the initial photo that there are coloration variations with sharks, and some of them use camouflage. They're absolute masters, and this is sort of their superpower. There's an angel shark in the top left, and the opposite corners are wobbegongs, and then you have a lesser spotted cat shark down at the bottom. So what these animals are doing, particularly the wobbegongs and the angel sharks, is they're an ambush predator. They hide out using that camouflage. Little fish swims close, giant mouth. All right, so resting on the bottom, and you can see behind the eye of the wobbegong on the top right, the spherical, so that can actually let water in as well to oxygenate the brain. I talked about dermal denticles, briefly mentioned at the beginning. So these are skin teeth. And this is a tiger shark. This is its skin up close. And these tiny little skin teeth are, if you've ever touched a shark, from the tail forward especially, you've probably felt it feels a little like sandpaper. And it's rough because you're actually feeling these teeth. They're very strong. They actually protect the shark. Think about a kind of a suit of armor, but they're, more importantly, they're hydrodynamic. So they're allowing the shark to move through the water. And there's little grooves in each of these teeth that actually allows the water to pass. So it makes swimming more efficient. And using CAT scans, it's pretty incredible because a lot of technology that you might not think of is actually being used to study sharks. So I'm just going to make sure the volume's down on this video. You can kind of see, let's skip ahead because it's, right, so nurse shark skin up close, but you're going to see the CAT scan. All right, so that's using a CT scan. This is a leopard shark. If you've ever gone diving in California, you might have seen those, to show what these teeth look like up close. A short fin mako shark, again, very different, and there's a single one. Now, pretty incredible to be able to see that up close, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see them with the naked eye. But there is a prickly dogfish. This is one of my favorite sharks. I've never seen one. They're a deep sea species. I would love to. I think they're pretty comical looking, and they're kind of like a little underwater porcupine. Their dermal denticles are large enough that we can see, and so even gives them kind of even more protection. So again, that would be their superpower. So those are kind of some of the physical characteristics that sharks have. There's a lot more of them, but those are some of the most interesting, I think. You go to sensory systems, right? This is really kind of what people think about when they talk about shark superpowers. So I hear a lot of times people ask me, or say, oh, they can smell a drop of blood from 1,000 miles away. And sharks do have extremely strong senses. No, they cannot smell a drop of blood from that far away. Good kind of approximation is a normal-sized swimming pool, a few drops of blood in there. That's about the range of what they can smell. Definitely not miles away. So this just kind of shows you the range. And you'd be surprised that some of the senses are quite a bit stronger than like their sense of hearing and things, but that's just because sound actually travels faster in water. And you might be going, hearing, yeah, sharks do have ears. Most people don't think of this because we don't see them, but they have two tiny openings on the top of the head. They do have ears. This diagram kind of shows what it looks like. And think about if you've ever been spearfishing and the sharks come in, all right, they'll hear the ting of the spear or the fish that's struggling around. And so they have an excellent sense of hearing. If we look at the eyes of sharks, you'll notice, nurse shark here, they're quite different. Again, you've heard me say that even though these are all sharks, they're incredibly diverse. There's a great hammerhead eye and a lemon shark eye. And they actually have quite excellent vision. Their eyes are very similar to ours with a lot of the same parts. They actually have rods and a cone. It's recently been discovered that sharks actually have a monochromatic cone. So our cone's red, green, and blue. Sharks are probably only seeing shades of green, so almost like colorblind. And it's a lot of animals in the ocean maybe aren't relying on color so much, so that doesn't actually matter. Again, this is something that hasn't been fully studied in many species of shark, so it's hard to say if this applies to all of them, but the eye structure on those that have been studied is very similar to the human eye. And some have excellent night vision. You think of like nurse sharks that are more active at night. And a lot of them have a special eyelid that actually protects their eye. You can see on that tiger shark, the nictitating membrane, it's gonna come up from the bottom and cover the eye. You'll see this video, this tiger shark's gonna come up and give you a little wink at the camera, or maybe you've been lucky enough to see this when they come up and check out your camera. They're very curious. And this is a way for when they go in, whatever they're trying to eat sometimes fights back. So think of a tiger shark going in and the animal's gonna fight back. I see all the rows of teeth and the great hammerhead. You'll see the tiger shark come up again here. Now something like a white shark, they'll actually just roll their eye back. They don't have the nictitating membrane. Just a quick hello. Now, they do have all the same 5 senses we do, but when we talk about their real superpowers, it's their extra senses. So the first one is the lateral line. Now, fish have this as well, and it runs along the side of the body. And if you've ever looked up close at a shark, you might have seen all these little black dots, and they can detect kind of vibrations and movement used for navigating as well. If you turn a fan on in the room, even if you have your eyes closed, you can still feel that air on your face or your arm to determine where that fan actually is. Sharks are not feeling air, but they're feeling water movements and using this to navigate their surroundings. And probably their most famous sense, or the one that's referred to as their sixth sense, are all these little dots around the smell. Kind of looks like the shark hasn't shaved in a few days. If you've ever gotten to be that close to a shark, particularly if we have some photographers out there, you've probably noticed this. It's pretty pronounced on tiger sharks, as you can see down there. And those little black dots are actually the ampullae of Lorenzini, the sixth sense. So this is Electro Reception. Sharks can actually detect electrical pulses underwater. Every living thing gives off an electrical pulse. It comes from our heartbeat. So even if we're holding our breath, holding perfectly still, our heart is still beating. It means we're alive. So that's a good thing. Well, that also applies to something like a stingray that's buried in the sand. And say a hammerhead is swimming along, it's scanning the bottom. Think of a metal detector, right? And that stingray might be hiding. Maybe the shark doesn't see it or smell it or hear it, but when it gets close enough, it's actually going to feel the heartbeat and figure out that it's there. So this superpower can also help them navigate underwater magnetic fields. And some of the research that I did with tiger sharks is we were looking at these migratory routes throughout the Caribbean and underwater volcanoes, big sea mounts, they might be using because of these magnetic fields to actually navigate these migratory routes. Because we'll see the same pattern year after year, and this has been seen in mako sharks as well and other species that are traveling great distances, it's a very similar route, and there's no roadmap and no, they don't have a GPS, but they're following very similar routes. So are they using, that's what we're figuring out, is that they're using these magnetic fields underwater as sort of natural road signs to help guide these migrations. And for this research is if they're traveling through these same routes throughout the Caribbean, right, sharks are protected in the Bahamas and they're protected on other islands, but a big part of this route that they're traveling, they're not protected. And so when they're removed, they're affecting different ecosystems as well. So if we can look at that and figure out this route, how many are, why they're doing it, are they going to give birth, they're mating in a certain area, then we can actually get larger scale of MPAs or shark sanctuaries in place to protect that entire migration rather than just a small part of it. So they're sort of running the gauntlet the rest of it. And again, using sort of high-powered microscopes to look closer. These are those dermal denticles again, and they look like balls of yarn, but those are the ampullae. And so up close to see on the snout. This is on a bonnet head, so the snout of the bonnet head, and seeing those sensory systems up close. Very, very important and powerful. So just a couple of other physical and chemical kind of adaptations and superpowers that are some of my favorites. When we think of sharks, we usually think of swimming, but the Epaulet Shark, they actually can walk. You can see here kind of hopping along. And these little sharks, if you saw, there's a great thing on the BBC and you can check it out. They love to kind of hang out in tide pools, so they'll go in there to find little snails and crabs. It's quite a small shark, about 2 to 3 feet in length. And they'll go into a tide pool to have lunch, and then the tide goes out, and they can actually hold their breath and walk back into the water. So the species of walking shark, I believe there's 9 now. So pretty amazing that this little shark can hold its breath and can walk. Now, this is a swell shark, and I think this is probably my favorite superpower that some sharks have. They can glow. So our eyes see the little image down at the bottom. Little brown shark, swell shark. If we were swell sharks, we would actually see the image above. They have special proteins under the skin that react to blue light, and that shows us this glow. So special cameras that were used to take these photos and to do video to discover this. Now, if we were a swell shark, we'd actually just be able to see this. So it's believed that this might be a method of communication. Think about like a secret handshake or a language. Sharks cannot physically make noise. So there's different methods for them to be able to communicate with each other. So this is a really, really incredible thing that's only been discovered in the last few years. and really having scientists still understanding how it works. Again, I mentioned that not only are new species being discovered, but also learning about different adaptations and things and behaviors that sharks exhibit. Now, sharks are cold-blooded, but salmon sharks, white sharks, makos, porbeagles, they actually are somewhat warm-blooded. And the fact that parts of their body, if you look here at this diagram, they can actually keep core muscles warmed up at a temperature higher than the ambient water, right? That means those swimming muscles that allow for speed, if you've seen a great white burst out of the water to try and grab a seal or a sea lion, that means those muscles need to be warmed up and ready to give them their speed. And their food can be, it's fast, so they need to be able to be fast. Particularly think of like mako sharks. And so this is an ability to actually keep warm blood circulating around those muscles. And it's not seen in other species of sharks. So this is sort of their superpower and the ability that helps them catch their food. Bull sharks, maybe you've been lucky enough to dive with some of these, pretty common in Florida and the Bahamas. And their shark superpower is the ability to swim in fresh water. Or some of the inland canals, you've seen brackish water mixed as well. And so osmoregulation, they're able to balance the level of salt. And so they're able to go in fresh water. Places like the Everglades as well. So that's pretty incredible because when we think of sharks, we definitely don't think of freshwater. There are other species, but the ability for these bull sharks to go and do that high-speed adaptation, it has to be immediate, adjusting to the saltwater, the freshwater, the brackish water. And this is, again, a really incredible superpower. This is the pocket shark, and they're not named because of their size, about 5.5 to 6 inches in length, super tiny, recently discovered. There's 2 different species. It's because if you can kind of see that little line, they have little pockets behind their pectoral fins, and those pockets can actually emit a glowing liquid. So it's possible that they spit that out to get away, sort of like a squid will ink, and then they can escape. So possibly to do that. And again, just recently discovered, they also have photophores on the bottom. So these little sharks can glow. It's in a different way than the swell shark. They're actually producing light. The light's not reflecting a different color. So they're little light producing spores on the bottom. Pretty remarkable. So that a lot of we see this in a lot of the deep sea sharks, possibly to communicate, also maybe to attract organisms closer to make it easier for them to feed. And the great hammerhead, sort of the superpowered shark of all sharks. And most of their superpowers are really focused around that head, the cephalofoil. So if you look, you can see all the dots. Larger surface area actually means more ampullae, so increased sensory system. So think of stingrays are a favorite meal for this shark, and so they're scanning the bottom to see those. Larger area. And they're all featured around the mouth. Makes it easier to find the food and then to grab it. Also putting their nostrils, their nares out on the side. They can think of our nostrils for smell. They don't actually breathe through their nose at all. Any species of shark, it's only used for smell and that incredibly strong sense. So it kind of increases their ability to figure out where the scent is coming from by adding distance between those. And then the eyes. A lot of times people think, oh man, they must not be able to see very well with their eyes way out there. Yeah, if a piece of fish is stuck on the face, they can't really see that. But with their swimming pattern, and they have stereo vision. That means each eye has a slightly different view. It's wide set, and then when they swim in that S-shaped pattern, it actually gives them a full range, 360 degrees. So super powered vision. And if you watch this, this is a fin camera that's been placed on a great hammerhead in Bimini. Going back and forth, you can see that S-shaped pattern. This is kind of our way of spying on sharks, seeing where they're going, how they're spending their time. So really, when it comes to superpowers, this shark is kind of the winner of, I think, one of the top sharks, just because of how important all those senses are, and they come together in that head. Very unique, very special, very specialized. Sadly, an endangered species. So even though they have these superpowers, they're now listed as critically endangered. All right, so that's really, I could talk a lot more. There's a lot of other adaptations these animals have. Again, over 500 different species and so many different unique adaptations or superpowers. But those are the ones that maybe you've seen those sharks, or some of the ones that I think are really, really incredible and hopefully something that you hadn't heard of before. Now, talking a little bit about Sharks for Kids to finish off. Sharks for Kids started in 2012, and we started our website in 2013. And the idea was really just to give resources to students, online materials for teachers as well, to bring these animals into the classroom to help change the way people understand sharks. And even if you live in Idaho, it doesn't matter. You need to know about the oceans, and you need to know how important these animals are for the ocean. So our mission is to create the next generation of shark advocates through education, outreach, and adventure. And it really started with free lesson plans and creating a website, and also doing in-person visits. And so we go into the classroom. Recently that's changed. We've really focused on our virtual lessons. We've always done Skype calls, Google Hangouts. Now we've hosted over 65 webinars with different scientists, divers, photographers, conservationists from around the world. And we also do field trips as well. So we take students out with the Guy Harvey Research Institute. We fully fund those programs to take students out to hands-on learn about tagging. And we take them on field trips in the Bahamas. You can see some of these images as well. Running summer camps in partnership with Bahamas National Trust, and a lot of just classroom visits, programs at aquariums, just to get kids excited about sharks, to learn from people who are in the field working with them, with all different careers, and just to help them understand how they can actually help sharks and change that fear to fascination. The website, which I think Nicole is going to send to you guys, you can look up all of our curriculum, lesson plans, activities, lots of crafts, fun activities to do in the classroom or at home with your students. I know a lot of people may or may not have students that are still at home looking for some activities, and the lesson plans do have full teaching guides, so you don't have to be a shark expert to be able to teach your kids about these incredible animals. And just some of our outreach numbers, and this is just for up to 2019, so it's quite a bit larger after this year because of a lot of virtual lessons. In person has changed a bit, but we're excited to get back in the classroom and offer these field trips as soon as we can. We've traveled over 1 million miles on Skype to various countries. You can see there are 56 countries. I've actually done in-person visits in 15 countries. So a lot of our work is right in South Florida and the Bahamas, because that's where I'm based, and the organization is based in South Florida. But we do travel, and we have ambassadors in various locations that are out sharing their passion for sharks and getting kids excited and allowing kids to actually interact, ask their questions, and talk to a real person who is working in that field, whether it's science, conservation, diving, photography. And for those of you that are, most of you are divers out there, share that with students. If you get a chance to, from your own students, their school or a local library or school, talk about it. Kids love to learn about what it's like to be underwater. And then you're inspiring those kids to, when they're old enough, or they might be old enough depending on the age, to get certified to learn how to dive and become an ocean advocate, be a voice for all of these animals in the ocean. So yeah, share that. If you get the opportunity and you're interested, most schools love to have people come in. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to help you and talk to you about how you could go about doing that. Libraries, community groups, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Usually love getting the opportunity for someone to speak to kids and share their passion, showing your equipment, your cameras, dive equipment, all of that. Really, really cool opportunities. Yeah, we do, again, this is kind of changed now, but a lot of hands-on learning days, activities, kids get to come out. These are 3D models to scale of a black-tip shark that they get to paint and take home. We do a lot of virtual reality as well. This has become really popular. This was at Tortuga. Students can go on a 3-minute shark dive with hammerheads, bull sharks, lemon sharks, reef sharks, and get to kind of sit in a big shark cage and have that experience. And what we hope, and adults do it as well, we hope is that that virtual experience will inspire them to then want to go dive, want to see the underwater world for themselves. And it's really, really incredible to be able to take students in the Bahamas. This is probably one of my favorite things to get to do, is a lot of students in the Bahamas have never been on a boat. Many of them cannot swim. And so we partner with the Bimini Scuba Center in Bimini, and we actually take students out and we go see the stingrays. You can see here we have our own version of Stingray City, so we can take the students in. And this little girl actually didn't, I believe she was in 7th grade, didn't want to get off the beach. All right, and you can see it's really shallow there, and she was kind of excited, but she was nervous. And so I worked with her, and then this was really incredible that a friend captured this photo. You can see just grinning ear from ear. So excited. It took some time. It took about 10 to 15 minutes. I was talking with her and hanging out. We were talking about the rays and getting close, and got to this. And this is why I created Sharks for Kids, because these kids are the future for the Bahamas. They're the future for the shark sanctuary and future for protecting the oceans. And everyone travels to the Bahamas to swim with sharks. Not everyone, but a lot of people from around the world go to the Bahamas to see these animals, and these students need to see what's in their backyard and appreciate it. So this is really what I love getting to do, and incredibly special, really proud of. And yeah, hopefully, you know, these kids grow up to become divers. We've had many students go through the program, and now they're working for the dive shops. They're guides themselves, and they went from being afraid to now teaching others about these animals, and it's so important. So I know Nicole's going to give you the website, but there's also some of our social media. Check it out, message us if you have questions, and see what we're up to. Right, so I'm going to end that. Stop sharing. Oops, I guess I'll go back to just the beginning. There we go. I'll just leave it there.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you so much. We've got a few questions coming in, and I did provide that link for the website for Sharks for Kids. So if you guys are looking for that, it's in the comment section. And so a couple of questions are coming in. I'm going to start with Gary had a question. Earlier you mentioned that certain products contain shark body parts. Can you tell us what some of those products are so we can avoid them?
Yeah, a good thing to look for in the back of particularly cosmetics is squalene. That's the shark liver oil, and that's used in quite a few cosmetics, so it's best to check the back of the label. If you don't see the ingredients, you can contact the company, their website. It can be synthesized from plants as well, but most companies don't actually use it. Most of it's derived. Check your dog treats, your dog food. Sharks in a lot of places that people don't realize. It's often mislabeled as well in seafood. Catch of the day, whitefish. But it's very common. You can go to GNC and you'll probably, like, if you look at the fish oil, you want to check what is the fish. But also there's shark cartilage pills. There's this belief that if you take them that you won't get cancer, they're going to cure cancer. Absolutely no health benefits to that, certainly not curing cancer. And it's not happening in foreign countries. Go to GNC, Walgreens, Target, you can find these products. But yeah, it's a good idea to check the labels of things and start looking for that. And if you can't find it on the bottle itself, then start looking at websites, and there's links you can Google, like it'll have lists of companies that don't. It's usually companies that don't. A lot of vegan products definitely wouldn't have it, or companies that aren't animal testing as well. It's usually what you'll find. So yeah, if you can't see it on there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's in there, but you can dig a little bit deeper, and it's, yeah, good to avoid those products that have it.
So actually, that brings up a subject. I just recently saw an article. They were talking about using the squalene for the vaccine that they're particularly making for COVID. Have you heard any news about that?
I've seen the articles. I haven't heard much about it. Squalene is used in vaccines, and so therefore it could potentially be used in the COVID vaccine. Again, I haven't done enough research on it to know fully what vaccines where. I know some of the major companies that are producing vaccines haven't really commented much. I think I saw one of them had said, I think they're interested in trying to do it synthetically because it can be done plant-based. And obviously the challenging part is it isn't just, you know, these sharks, a lot of species, it's endangered species that are being caught, and this is being used, or vulnerable species. So that's the biggest concern, is that species in particular that are already threatened, now is this going to be a much larger impact for them? And that's really what the scary thing is again, with products that are mislabeled as well, is it's not just sharks that have rather healthy populations, you're seeing endangered, critically endangered species ending up in these products. And that's, you know, it's a good idea to avoid them because of that, because now it's a critically endangered species that's now being used. And so on top of all the other threats from humans that these animals face, you're adding that as well.
Sure. So going back to shark superpowers, when you watch Shark Week and you see the air jaws and you see the, you know, I don't know what some of the other ones were called, but, you know, you see like these megalodon, you know, sightings and I mean, how hard is it for you as a researcher to sit back and kind of like hold your tongue and go, oh man, this is not a superpower I really want, you know, highlighted, because yes, they do bite, right? We do know the sharks bite, but tell us a little bit about your experience, if you've ever gotten bitten, or how you feel about the way that they portray. Oh no, Jillian's lost her feed. Hold on one second, guys. We'll see if we can get her back on here real quick. Hold on, let's see if she jumps back on. Anywho's, I guess I'll let her answer that question in just a second. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I put on the comment section, if you guys are looking for, hold on, let me just tell her, link back in. Click back in, Jillian. There we go. Use same link. Okay. So anyways, if you are looking for those products that 4C has for sale, we've got shirts, we have keychains, we've got necklaces, we've got hats, we've got buffs, we've got all kinds of cool products that have sharks all over them. And we also have a new line of shark hot sauce. That's right, guys. If you were thinking about making some tacos or, you know, whatever you want to put hot sauce on, we actually have that at the stores and online. So go to that link. It's right there in the comment section, and you can shop online there. You're also going to notice that there is there's some information about the other presenter we had, but we also have a video about how to dive with sharks and, you know, how you can really get along with them in particular species. So that's a cool video, and that video footage came from our dive master Pavel. And also, we do have the SSI Shark Ecology course. If you're looking to get some more certifications under your belt, this is a great course. It's pretty much an online academics. Then you can do a Zoom call with one of us, or in person, you can do a classroom session. And if you'd like to add to that certification course, go out and go diving with us. There's a couple of sites that we have where we most likely will see some sharks. I mean, we don't do any feeding, but we do have sites that we normally see some reef sharks on. So if you guys want to join us in for that, that would be great. Hey, Julian's back.
Hey, sorry, my whole screen went black. Sorry, guys. I don't know. My computer's having some issues, so it's done it before, so I apologize. But yeah, back. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was just telling them about they can take the SSI Shark Ecology course. We have that at 4C. And so I'm going to go back. I'm going to repeat the question I asked you so that you can answer. So, so Jillian has worked with the people at Shark Week, and I know that watching Shark Week, sometimes it can be like, ooh, that's really cool, and ooh, maybe not so cool, because that shark power of like air jaws jumping through the air, or, you know, the bites and the sensations and the blood that they can smell. I mean, what does that do for you as a researcher to help people, you know, help get your message across?
Well, I think, yes, white sharks are awesome. They can leap out of the water. If anyone's been diving with them, they're a massive shark, incredible, super powerful. But I want people to see the pocket shark, the glow shark. Like, these animals do incredible things that we don't really have to over exaggerate it. And the technology that is being used, anything from the fin camera that you saw and the special cameras that can see the glow. So I'm hoping that every year I hope it's, the shows that there's some really solid science, and it's exciting. My husband's filmed a couple of them, and we try and get involved with the ones that are very science-based, but it can still be exciting. It can be factual and still interesting. And so, yeah, it's exciting to see some of the other species instead of just white sharks, tiger sharks. Now, don't get me wrong, great hammerheads are my favorite animal on the planet, but it is cool to see some of these other, maybe lesser known, less iconic species, so that people understand that there's so many more sharks that can do so many more incredible things than just the ones that are usually the regulars that are featured. But I think, some of the shows featuring deep sea sharks now, yeah, it's exciting to see more of that, rather than the same kind of repeated information that we know that white sharks can leap out of the water. It's awesome, but we know it, and we've seen it. So let's try and celebrate some of these little guys and lesser known, and the deep sea ones that glow and do some really weird and cool stuff. Like, let's see that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I remember seeing an article, and one of your associates, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. Not your husband, Derek, holder. I asked him, I'm like, can you talk on this topic? He was talking about how there's that article that came out about sharks that in volcanoes or something. I was like, what the heck? Like, it's just really cool that they're sharks, but then there's so many different variations, and like you said in the presentation, there's ones that give live birth, there's ones that lay eggs. I mean, what a cool different way to look at adaptations and what these animals can really do, and why that's so important for us to protect them so that we can continue seeing them as divers and also in our ecosystem to make sure that there's a balance. Because with no sharks in the oceans, our seas are doomed. I mean, there's a balance. There's a reason why they're there. So everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to get bit by one. But, I mean, we all know I've been diving since I was 12 years old. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, people. But, yes, I've encountered big sharks. I've encountered little sharks. Not once was I ever thinking, wow, this animal's going to attack me. Unless you look like a dead fish, smell like a dead fish, or act like a dead fish, you're pretty sure that you're not going to have issues. I mean, I do know that they have the problems with, people spearfishing, the sensation of you talked about that in your presentation, like the spear gun snapping or shooting. And of course there's going to be that. But I mean, really, they're more scared of you as divers. I think, especially when I encounter hammerheads, it's like, oh, there they are. They're gone. So, I think someone's trying to ask, what's your thoughts on, shark feeding? Just a brief, do you think that it's something that's hindering their behavior, or if it's an okay behavior? Do you know the research behind what you've studied on that?
Yeah, can you say that again? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Someone was asking what your thoughts were on, feeding. As it, is it okay for the feeding of sharks, or is it not? Because I mean, a lot of people hear, okay, it doesn't change their behavior, and other people are saying, I know it's a really, really long topic. We can go on for another hour, but just briefly, in your opinion, like, what does that do for research and conservation?
So ultimately, I get asked this a lot. It depends on the operator. There are some amazing operators that keep the animals in mind and keep humans and animals safe. That's first and foremost. Everyone involved needs to be safe and be respectful. Operators that support conservation, education, things like that. So if you're looking for a situation to dive with sharks, that should be, check that out, find that out. Yes, it will alter their behavior. Sharks are extremely intelligent. They've been taught to push buttons, open boxes. They condition easily, so they can learn, and they can learn that there is a free food source. The way they approach the feed box, everything. But is it affecting their entire behavior? They still have to eat. They're not getting enough food. And there's actually a study being done right now in Bimini, the Shark Lab. One of their scientists is looking at the provisioning site, and he actually spent time weighing out the pieces, counting how much each shark got to look at. Are they staying there longer? Are they arriving earlier? Are they staying later? How much of an impact is that having? So it kind of, it is affecting their behavior. But if hundreds of thousands of people get to see sharks up close and then go home and share that experience, and more people, when it comes time to, you know, we're talking about voting, but voting for the environment, the choices we make in the products we buy, because of that experience, it's worth it. I mean, really, when we're talking about these great hammerheads are a critically endangered species. So the more people that come see them, the more people that can report their photos, videos, and share that on whatever format they can, the more people that are going to step up and make better choices for those animals, supporting science, supporting conservation and education, because they've had that experience. So I think it's really, really incredible when done with an operator that's respectful for keeping humans safe, but also the animals as well.
Awesome. Great answer. And one more question here. They want to know, are there sharks in the Arctic or the Antarctic?
So when I was talking about, if you saw that salmon shark, you do see animals, the Greenland shark as well. There are cold water species of dogfish that get down close to Antarctic. I don't know if they're found actually right down like on the ice edge, but definitely around like Georgia and the Falkland Islands as well. So and very deep depths of cold water. So yeah, there are species that are cold tolerant for sure. Also species that migrate between warmer temperatures and colder as well. So and all different depths. Think of deep sea, obviously the temperatures are going to be considerably cooler than surface temperatures in shallow waters.
Okay. He was just commenting, I think the Greenland can live for several hundred years. I wonder about the South Pole, anything there.
Yeah.
So.
And I forgot to, one shameless quick plug about Superpowers. We do have the Shark Superpowers book. If you guys check out the website, you can grab a copy. A lot of the same species I talked about here. Fun for kids. I'll just show you quick. So it's got this is my favorite page, the glowing sharks. So you can go on a cool adventure about some of the lesser known species as well. Again, wanting kids to learn more than just white sharks, tiger sharks, even though they're amazing, to some of the lesser known species and the cool superpowers that they have.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in our other screen here. So this is our support sharks that I was talking about, you guys, where you can go on here, get some cool videos, get some cool swag, learn about our shark ecology course. So that's that right there. And like I said, if you registered for our event tonight on the Eventbrite website, we got your name in our random name picker, and we are going to right now raffle off either 4 air fills or 2 nitrox fills at any of the 4C stores. And you can use those to go diving and maybe hopefully see a shark. So let's take a look and see who is our winner. Hold on, let me use that screen. Okay, hold on. Jillian, I'm going to actually hide you for a second so people can see it. Okay. Here we go, everybody. And our winner is down below here, Douglas Feldman. Douglas, if you are watching on our Facebook Live right now, give us a thumbs up in the comment section. Yell woo woo. All right, because we're excited. We're gonna get you that fills so that way you can go out and go diving here. I'm bringing Jillian back in. Here we go. There she is. All right. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and you can email or go onto the Sharks for Kids. They also have, like she said, the Instagram and the Facebook page, so you can ask them questions, or if you want to reach out and get more information. Jillian, maybe you can go ahead and type your email address into the comment section so everybody has it. And we are super excited for this presentation, so thank you so much for taking the time. And go Shark Superpowers! Woohoo!
Wow, well, thank you so much for having me, and for everybody that joined. You can also follow me on social media on Bimini Shark Girl. So I try and post what we're doing in different adventures, and yeah, I thank you everyone, and I hope everyone gets a chance to swim with some sharks if you haven't yet, and soon, and as the world's getting back to normal, and hopefully more diving is involved in that. But yeah, thank you again, Nicole, 4C, and everyone who joined tonight. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.